Joining us. Let's go straight to Gillian Keegan now, the government's Minister for Skills. And I know you've had a long day, Gillian. Appreciate you being with us. We've heard a lot from your government about levelling up, and I guess the simplest and most effective way to increase the wages of underpaid workers is how you level up. I mean, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation was saying that 1 in 8 workers are living in poverty. They were expecting an employment bill to deliver better quality work and to protect workers' rights. That's a really simple way of levelling up.
The very best way to level up is to give people the skills so that they can earn more and get better jobs. And really, the levelling up, what we've recognised is that talent is all over the country, but the opportunities are not. And certainly I recognise that from my own upbringing in a Knowsley Comprehensive School, and many people who left school without the GCSEs that you need to get on in life. And that really does trap you in lower pay. So what we've said today is, if you're a young person and you're looking to get into more technical vocational routes, have fantastic routes into brilliant careers where there's lots of skill shortages, then we're going to help you do that. But likewise, if you're an older person, if you missed out on that first opportunity, or the skills that you've got are maybe not the ones that are going to be needed in the future, then the Prime Minister has offered a lifetime skills guarantee that will be available all over the country. So you can learn where you are, yep. And also the investment obviously is a key part of that in terms of...
One of the other things that traps you, of course, is the social care workers, the unpaid army of social care volunteers, which is nearly 9 million, who are currently paid an allowance of £67. It does seem extraordinary that after a year of this devastating pandemic, your legislative priorities afforded 9 words of the Queen's speech to social care and to all those people who work for free to go about doing that job in the place of your plan.
Well, it's not quite right to say it was just 9 words, because we have the health and social care bill as well, which is looking at the first stage, which is actually integrating health and social care. What the pandemic has taught us is how important it is that those two work really closely together.
You should have known that. You should have known that, because the Prime Minister stood on the steps of Downing Street 2 years ago and he promised the plan was ready to go. You've been in power 11 years. This was promised by David Cameron, by Theresa May, by Boris Johnson most recently. We've had a plan by Damien Green. We've had Andrew Dilnot offering a comprehensive social care plan a decade ago. Where is it?
Well, I mean, there's been lots of plans over successive governments, actually for decades, you're quite right. In terms of the Prime Minister, he stood up in July and said he was going to bring forward a plan. Obviously, since then, he's had to wrestle with a gridlocked Parliament, he's had to have a general election, and then, of course, we've been wrestling with the pandemic.
Last year was a gridlocked Parliament. It wasn't, he won a majority.
From July until December, it was a gridlocked Parliament. He made that speech in July, and then obviously we came back in December, and then not long after that we had the pandemic. But we have committed to bring forward, it is important, and it is important for all the reasons that you say.
Honestly, Gillian, it makes no sense.
Every single one.
It just makes no sense.
We are bringing forward a plan at the end. I just want to finish so that you know what we're planning on doing. Bringing forward a plan at the end of the year. We do very much hope to work cross-party, because it has also been used as a political football, and we've seen that in the past. Right. You mentioned previous Prime Ministers. That has happened in the past. Let's just like to avoid that.
Let's talk about that, because the promise was that he had a plan ready to go in July 2019, so that clearly was not true. He said that he had reached out to Labour. You've just heard them directly deny that. So in terms of political football, maybe that's a little bit rich. Last time, we remember...
I think that's an opportunity. If they're saying that they're ready to work with us, and we're saying we want to work together, perfect. We'll work together. We know what all the parameters of the plan are. You're quite right. There's been many different reviews offering many different systems and a combination of systems. But
11 years you've had to get this right.
Well, that's probably been over more like 20 or 30, to be honest. And I think most people don't even know what the current system is. And certainly I think we saw that in the 2017 election. It is important, and we will bring forward a plan. But we want to get it right, and we want to get it right once and for all. Every single one of us is impacted by this. Our own elderly one, our own elderly people, our own loved ones. everybody has got this uncertainty.
Do you know,
it's throughout the country. We do need to solve it.
I get that you want to get it right and that everything needs time, but it does seem extraordinary that we've got those 9 words on social care today, yet quadruple that on constitutional change. Now, tell me about the people's priorities, because when you were knocking on doors, did people tell you that they were fed up of the fixed-term parliament, or did they tell you that they really needed to limit the power of the court? Were they annoyed that they didn't have to take photographic ID to the polls? Just explain that as your priority right now.
Well, if you're knocking on doors in December 2019, people were fed up of the Fixed Term Parliament Act. They were fed up of a gridlock parliament. They were fed up of watching Parliament just the casting.
So how does voter ID at the polls? How does that solve that?
So, well, that's about the Fixed Term Parliament Act. In terms of voter ID at the polls, there have been a number of election court judgments, particularly Tower Hamlets.
There was one conviction in 2019, and the reason we know about Tower Hamlets is because it was caught out and it became a big story and a big headline once. One man stopped.
And then there was a report in 2016 by Lord Pickles, which basically said it exposed vulnerability in our system. Now, anytime you look at a system, it's clear to me that there is vulnerability in our system. If you don't have to show your ID, which you don't at the moment, anybody could actually walk in and say they're you. And it's important that your vote is yours. This is too important to get wrong.
Gillian, UK data shows, I'm just going to put it in perspective for our viewers, because the UK data shows there is a 0.00001% of fraudulent votes. We just heard it is more likely you'd be struck by lightning 3 times.
To be honest, you don't actually know that. What you're saying,
I'm just quoting UK data.
The one case that has been proven, but there's many times you may not prove, and it's very difficult to prove. But we do know our system has an exposed vulnerability, and it's too important. Our democratic system is too important. So for the sake of doing something, which is basically what most people do every day for everyday transactions, which is showing photo ID, we believe that our system is important. Okay. It's too important to...
When you say it's too important, there are many who hear the concern that it will disproportionately impact the young, the ethnically diverse, the voter hasn't got a fixed address or doesn't have the time in a very full, exhausting day to take on more bits of admin, that it will deter the very people who vote for your opponents. This is what it looks like.
No, that's definitely not true. And to be honest, most young people need ID eating a bar nowadays, photo ID. And most
you might as well invite them in and give them a vote too then when they're 16. I mean, doesn't that include...
Well, you need photo ID to do many things, and it's 18 that you can go into a bar. So there's many areas in life that you need photo ID. And what we're saying is this is an area that has an exposed vulnerability. We've seen weaknesses, we've seen some election court judgments, and we just can see that there is a vulnerability here. And most people would prefer to protect the integrity of our democratic system by using something which has now become quite everyday.
Okay.
And if you don't have photo ID, then what we've said, for those people who don't have various photo ID, then you can get photo ID.
You heard what Meg Gillian says. She says it stops the poorest voting most. We've got to wrap there, but thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.